So what's going on with crypto? So I'll give you my theories here on what is happening. And first, to state the obvious, the pattern that seemed to keep repeating, which was really this boom bust cycle that was a bit on a every 4 years or so, and it would follow the same pattern. As I said, patterns continue until they don't. Well, guess what? They don't. Right now, that pattern's been broken. So what does that mean? Well, it means, I don't know, maybe there'll be a new pattern, maybe there'll be no pattern. Okay, so there's that. Why are prices going down? My feeling on this is that, in general, liquidity has been being drained from the system really since Powell started raising rates, right? They printed way too much money in COVID. They printed 4 trillion. It was too much. We had inflation. It was just crazy. And big, real asset bubbles. And they've been pulling money out of the system and raising interest rates, and it's been sucking money out. And now there are reports from various different, metrics that people look at that the money, extra money has been drained out of the system. In fact, the central bank is stopping QT, which is short for pulling money out of the system. The opposite of printing is what they've been doing. They're stopping that. There's reports they may have to start printing. So bottom line is there's not as much money floating in the system. And liquidity, when there's extra money, it floats into things, especially the super liquid things like crypto. So, and then when there's not liquidity, where do we see it first? In crypto. I am feeling like, listen, people can argue whether crypto is overvalued and undervalued and all of that. But going down this much this fast, I think is more of a liquidity issue, right? Now, people are saying the market makers on October 10th all got wrecked, and so that hurt liquidity more. Yeah, but why did they get wrecked in the first place? Because there was a liquidity problem. So if I am correct in that, then that means, soon, and we just saw yesterday, I think Friday, the market looks like it's a little bit getting hit. If that's the case, then we're going to see this in the stock market. And then when it hits the bond market, that's when the central bank really has to start printing. Now, the real tough scenario is if it sort of hits the stock market and they sort of hang tough and it doesn't really hit the bond market and they just don't print. And we have this situation where it's just tough sledding for the rich people, which, Trump loves a strong stock market, but he also is trying to do stuff for the poor people who don't have stocks. And the central bank, what they try to do, they don't try to print too much. What they try to do is just print. They just want 2% inflation a year. They just want to print enough to give a little bit of inflation. It's in a sense they just want to steal a little bit. Because if you steal too much, people get mad. And so maybe they're successful in that. And we don't get some sort of a printing jubilee. In other words, what happens is everything starts going down and then it starts affecting the government bond market, and then they print money and it all goes straight up again. Well, maybe they don't just print a ton. On the other hand, sometimes I think, is printing too much a bug or a feature? In other words, it seems that every time the government prints money, they print too much. Or is it that in order to stop panics, you have to print too much in order to stop the panic? Otherwise, if you're just like, we just printed enough, people are like, I don't care, I'm too scared. We printed so much, you don't have to be scared. Look how much they printed, I'm not scared. And then it goes up. So maybe they have to. And so therefore we should expect that eventually they're going to print too much. But before you get excited about the central bank printing too much money, keep in mind, the thing that gets them to print too much money is that we go down a lot. So while you're all excited for the coming print, you're losing money every day. So I'm not making this easy today, am I? My mother called me. Should I buy Ethereum? I don't know. She's like, well, did you sell? Did, did I ever sell? No, I mean, well, last couple weeks. I'm like, oh, so by did you ever sell? You mean did I sell in the last 2 weeks? Like, the point is, here's the thing. In 2019, when Bitcoin was, I don't know, under 6,000, and also even earlier than that with Bitcoin, and Ethereum was under 300, I was telling people, this is the new technology. Someday the banks are going to use this technology. Someday, it's going to be part of the financial system. It's going to gain mainstream adoption. Everyone said, no way. That was the bet. Well, we're there now. So what's the bet now? I don't honestly. Listen, I think Ethereum is a great platform that's going to continue to be used, but I don't think I know anything that, like, I mean, there's a lot of people who don't know what it is, but there's a lot of very smart people, big people with money who know what it is. I no longer have this inside lane view and know something that nobody knows. So, not to mention, I don't think I've ever known, to predict prices. I was kind of good, for whatever reason in the past bubbles, mostly because I was just following the pattern that kept repeating, the speculation. And I'm good at knowing, oh, it's overvalued. There's euphoria. I can spot that when other people don't. Oh, everyone's just too negative. I can spot that. But right now, I mean, we didn't have euphoria. This isn't panic. I've had multiple people ask me if they should buy today. That's not panic. Panic is like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world, So where are we? We're muddling along. And what's going to happen? I don't know. Is it going to turn into panic? I sort of don't think we're going to get the total panic because we didn't get the total euphoria, right? But, I've talked about one of the scariest charts ever was the Amazon that peaked in 1999, took 10 years to get back to that price. Another scary chart would be Cisco. Because I remember, this also, I said this to my mother. I said, do you remember in 2000 when you asked me if you should buy Cisco? And I said, it's overvalued, but it's a good company. Cisco's a great company, isn't it? But it was overvalued. 25 years later, it hasn't gotten back to the price. So when you ask me, is Ethereum good? Yeah, Ethereum's great. Is it Cisco? Now, some of you may be, well, what does Dave say? He's Mr. ETH. Yeah, I love ETH. You know what? I also like Cisco. I mean, listen. And I hope that's not the case. I still have too much Ethereum. So, I mean, this is not the best for my, but listen, I got in at 300 and I got it, and, some of it under 1,500. I'm not panicking here. It crashed to 2,700. And this is not a crash, by the way. Crash is it goes below 1,500. I'm not thinking that, but listen, who knows? So hopefully, as I've always said, your portfolio needs to be designed so that if we're into tough sledding here, you're going to survive, right? You've got enough cash, you diversify this and that. And if it goes to the moon, you're going to if everything goes up, you've got the things and you're going to make money. That's how you have to be prepared. And if it stays flat, you survive. So you've got to be set up for all things and not be predicting price. And hey, I was the king of predicting price. 2021, I'm 22, boy, oh boy. Those days are over. Now, the other thing, related to this, I don't want to be like I'm the crypto guy anymore because I don't feel like I know anything that nobody knows. Do you know what I mean? That's when you have insight. With Ethereum, there's a lot of people that know things. The only place I'm feeling like I have a little bit of like I see a lot with Tesla. Tesla self-driving, it works. It's safer than regular driving, and it's going to be everywhere. And people, so many people think it doesn't exist, like it doesn't work, and it's not safe. So that makes me feel like it's undervalued, at least in that mind share. Or if imagine if everybody thinks it's unsafe. This is how I feel when I drive. It is unsafe for me to be driving anything other than having Tesla drive me for me. I mean, I can feel it. I'm like scared now driving. Like, why am I driving? I should not be allowed to drive. Imagine when everybody thinks like that, and the only car that can do it is Tesla. I mean, maybe there'll be others, but that's the feeling I like to have for like making a prediction. So I feel like I'm a little, I'm more bullish if I was going to make a prediction on Tesla than Ethereum. My issue with Ethereum is that I do feel like it's the foundation of the new financial system, the settlement layer, like all the things we wanted to do, it's doing. But when and how much and how and will that be convert into a higher token price? I don't know. We don't know how to value it. We don't know how that works. And so it's hard to have confidence. And again, Cisco routers are used all over the internet and they're selling lots of them. It's just not something that gets a high margin, and that's not where the action is. It's NVIDIA, the new hot thing that you can only get from one place. Listen, and I don't understand. Why isn't Cisco hot at all? It's like they're making the routers that runs the internet. Maybe someone will reply in the comments on why it doesn't. But it's just, that's my fear. And then the apps on Ethereum that I really like. I think Aave is a great app that is gaining adoption, is very valuable, has a good moat. But what is it worth? I don't know. I feel like these apps, if I was going to make a guess, like they're the ones that I like. There's Aave, Sky. Sometimes I think about this EtherFi. That thing's growing like crazy. It gets you a credit card. If you go try ether.fi and get yourself a crypto credit card, it's so easy. It's getting crazy adoption. But again, hey, maybe I'm right, and I'm like a smart investor, and in 5 years. Problem is everyone's worried about what is it going to be in 5 weeks. So that's, I think, why I'm not panicking, is because I feel okay about everything I own 5 years from now. And even if ETH doesn't do that great, like if in 5 years it's at 3,000, people will not be thrilled and no one will be talking about it. But it's still not a bad return for me, right? That's 10x from my 300 to 3,000. Even with it doing nothing for 5 years. So, what else? And Bitcoin. Yeah. I mean, listen, my views are still the same damn thing I've been saying for 2 years. I'm not a huge Bitcoin fan. And, if you heard Peter Thiel talk about it recently, he's like, who's the next leg? I mean, it's possible there's another leg. Like, we've got the banks are buying it. Like, who's next? Is it really going to be like gold and central banks are buying it? I mean, that would be the next leg. Maybe it'll happen. Again, this isn't I like things that are true today that nobody knows. Again, Tesla self-driving is safer than humans driving today. I feel like most people don't know that. I like that. Someday, central banks are going to buy Bitcoin. That's a prediction. Someday, Ethereum's going to do this or that. Even if I think it's going to, it's a prediction. I loved it when everyone said no one is using Ethereum. And I'm like, well, there's $10 billion of stable coins being transacted every day. It's like in 2020 or something. Isn't that something? People be like, nothing's happening. So there was something true, something was happening, and everyone said it wasn't. That's what I like to bet on people realizing the truth, not predicting what the future truth will be. Which brings me to another thing that could be as a negative is AI. There's no AGI. AI is valuable. I use it all the time. It's got many great use cases. Super helpful. But it's not replacing all these jobs. It's not becoming like superhuman and all this stuff. I mean, well, listen, today it's sort of like an idiot savant who works for you for $20 a month nonstop. It'll work whenever you want. It's an idiot savant. You can ask it questions and it knows everything a little. It knows sort of the basics on everything. And that's cool. And that's all it is. Again, it's improving, and maybe it will become this, that, or the other. But everybody thinks that there's so many people who are just like AI is like it's alive and it's human and it can replace humans. It can't today. And I don't even see it getting there. I mean, certain things are getting better, but it's just go tell your AI, have something you want to do, and go tell your AI to do it. Trust me. You're going to be like, well, that didn't work. Right? So, what else? Latest update on my teaching financial literacy. So I had an idea to create a course. I don't like online courses, I decided. It's just people going through videos in order. It's too structured. It's too fixed, like for a mass audience. And most online courses, you know what it is? It's people sell, they get you to buy it. And then nobody watches the videos. And if they do watch the videos, they might learn something, and then nobody does what they're supposed to do, what they learned. And it's very ineffective, and it's all about the sales and not about the results for most online courses. And this is not even to say that the courses aren't valuable. Like, even if I have an awesome course, it's just hard. Most people don't just go and learn on their own. If they are that type of person, they probably don't need your course. So, and meanwhile, I go once a week, I teach at Venice High School. And I'm teaching these kids going through my book. We're on chapter 2. I love it. The kids love it. I like being in person. I need more of that. So I was starting to make a course, but I decided I don't like the course. Not even launching it. I may put up the videos. I don't know what I'm pivoting. I pivot every three weeks. So now I'm trying to figure out, I like my book, and I basically want to teach my book, but I want to teach it in a more personal, live way. And I'm working on that. So listen, if you're interested, I have an email list. I don't have a way to join the list these days. I don't know. If you're interested and you didn't join my book launch thing, message me. I'm still working on this stuff. Whatever. If you're interested, you follow me. Eventually, I will have something working. Let me know what else you think. Talk to you soon.